The Drive continues with Need to Know Basis on TSN 1200.
Welcome back to The Drive, Lever Sage, Graham Creech, Connors Vita, and some bad music to welcome you into hour two.
He's the shot man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. I hope this isn't all
Yeah,
afternoon
I was
long.
just,
That's all I'm thinking right now.
Let's renege on your request for it going the rest of the day. Or saying that you'd be okay with it.
I just tell Matt that I'm okay with it, and he can do what he wants to do.
No, we need the energy.
All right, Dave Smart's coming up, but before that, Graham Creech.
Well, we're just going to do a quick rip here, Lever Sage.
What do we need to know on this Wednesday afternoon?
Well, Matt Murray still not sure if he can go for Game 1 opening night tomorrow, but they'll make that determination tomorrow. Also, DJ said he could go with 11 and 7 tomorrow. The fourth line saw Shaw, Sabrin, with Kelly and Sanford. There's four skaters there, obviously, and Brandstrom skating with Delzato. So one of Delzato or Brandstrom could come in. Two of those members of that fourth line could come out. We'll see what happens tomorrow at the morning skate in the NHL this evening. Of note, the Maple Leafs hosting the Montreal Canadiens, fresh off a trip to the Stanley Cup Final. Lever Sage, as a few more games underway tonight, 5 in total on the NHL schedule. And I know Dave's on the line, so the last thing I'll say is there's no baseball tonight. It's tomorrow. We have to wait for the two best teams in baseball to go at it in Game 5 as the Giants host the Dodgers in their NLDS. 9:07 tomorrow. That's what you need to know.
Let's get to the Gabriel Pizza hotline and bring on the Director of Basketball Operations for Carleton University and consultant for the Ottawa Senators, our very regular guest here just after 3 o'clock on Wednesdays on The Drive, Mr. Dave Smart. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Getting set here for the beginning of the regular season tomorrow?
AJ's watching soccer on another vacation.
Nothing you've said is untrue so far.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I guess he works hard at some point.
Well, we were giving him some credit last week. Yeah, at least have to say that he's patriotic, right? Going down to watch Canada-Panama again?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so how you feeling going into tomorrow night? You feel like the guys are ready to go for the Ottawa Senators against the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'd feel better if Brady was here, but yeah, I feel pretty good.
You're not the only one. And I'll say that it was an interesting move for Lee to go with hockey first, given our discussion last week.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Really shocking.
So I guess I'll continue the topic.
Don't
but
worry.
we do have some in the bank for you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know why he did that.
Don't worry. We'll get to U Sports. We'll get to a whole bunch of other topics with you. Ben Simmons might even come up again.
Good.
That's it?
Well, what am I supposed to say? You haven't asked a good question yet.
No. I'm waiting for Graham to ask his question about hockey, but I'll ask you the mindset of young players going into seasons where hope is there, coming off of what they did last year. Knowing you know, last year doesn't mean a thing at this point to the players, but what is their mindset going into tomorrow night to open up the season with a lot of hope?
Well, I mean, I think they're pretty positive about things. I think they at least understand if they play the right way that they're going to be in every game. And I think sometimes it's, you know, if nothing else out of the last part of last year is that they get that if they play the game the right way, meaning like what the right way and wrong way is. I mean, everybody has their opinions. It's kind of like people who don't understand what winning actually looks like in a team sport. They have these strong opinions about how teams should play. There is no way a team should play to win. I mean, we played a different style pretty much. I mean, the difference between where we won our 14th and 15th national championship to the way we played when we won our first and second, I mean, it wasn't the same. It wasn't even close to the same style. The bottom line is you have to play the same way. You have to play as a group in a team setting, and what that looks like is kind of irrelevant as long as everybody's on the same page. And I think what they learned last year was early on, if everybody's kind of doing their own thing, they're going to get their heads handed to them. And later on, if everybody's doing the same thing, whether everybody thinks it's the perfect way to do it or not, but if everybody's on the same page doing the same thing, you're going to be in every game, and you're going to give yourself a chance to win, and you're going to trust what your teammate's doing because you know what your teammate's expected to do and is likely to do. So, again, I think if nothing else, the second half of the year last year made people realize that they're way better off being on the same page than not being on the same page, even if they don't necessarily love the page, that certain page. I mean, everybody just has to agree to play the same way. And I think they did that. Hopefully we'll start this season doing the same thing.
You began answering Lee's first question, which was about hockey, about wishing Brady was here. How much of a distraction can that be? And is there any relief for the players once tomorrow hits that maybe these questions will stop coming every day until he is here now that the season started?
Yeah, I'm sure it gets tiresome. I mean, I'm not there, so I don't in terms of having to answer the questions as a player. So I don't know if it gets tiresome or not. I assume it probably does, just like you guys assume it does, but who really knows? When I say it would be nice to have him, I'm surely speaking from your best or second best or third best, whatever you want to call him, best, one of your three best players being in the lineup as opposed to not being in the lineup would be nice. Doesn't mean you need him in the lineup. Pittsburgh didn't have two of their top five guys in the lineup last night, and they won against a pretty good team. So you don't need him in the lineup to win, but it's always easier when you have one of your three best players in the lineup. So I'm more just talking from that perspective. I mean, does he bring a lot of things, otherwise? Sure. But just the fact that having him in the lineup makes things a little bit easier for everybody. So, in terms of distraction, I don't know if it's a distraction at this point. It's gone on long enough. I think everybody knows what they have to do. Everybody's been slotted into the role that they need to play while he's not here, and I think guys will take care of their business.
Speaking of roles, we came into the preseason, wondering where Shane Pinto would land. Would he land on this team? Would he need a little bit of time in Belleville? I don't think anybody doubted the long-term future potential of Shane Pinto, but Dave, he has really put himself into this lineup. The coach was talking about him earlier this week, whether it's fair or unfair to him, that he's already going to be in a shutdown role going up against the league's best centers on a day-to-day basis. Just from a young player's point of view, to come in and really believe in yourself and to have already put yourself in this spot with the coach, what is that like for a young player to be able to do that?
I don't know. I mean, is it that big a shock? Were you and AJ on vacation for the 6 games or so he played last year?
No, but listen,
he looked pretty good last year.
Yeah, and you know what? Hold on.
I'm not saying he's going to he's going to be good every game because it's a transition. He's going to be playing twice as many games or more than he played last year, and that's going to be a transition in terms of fatigue, in terms of mental focus. But he's pretty good. I'd be driving to games and you guys would be talking about, will he be in the AHL or be in the NHL? And I kept going is no one allowed in practice? Is no one watching the exhibition games? Did no one watch? I'm a basketball guy, but it seems pretty obvious he wasn't going to be in the AHL. I mean,
as camp went along, that's what we're saying.
What about last year? Based on last year, it was pretty obvious he wasn't going to be in the AHL.
But this team has done a pretty good job, though, of, look, Drake Batherson came up and he was really good for a few games. And then he wasn't. And then they sent him back. And it doesn't mean Drake Batherson was a bad player when they sent him back for a little bit more time. Josh Norris needed a year in Belleville, and all of a sudden has come up with a lot of confidence. I don't think it would have been a bad thing at the beginning of camp for some people to say, hey, Shane Pinto might need a little bit more time before he's completely ready.
And who do you play at center then?
Well, yes, some centers have exited here quite quickly. For sure.
It's like you can't take vacation because AJ is always on vacation. I mean, if AJ was always here, you could take more vacation. We could send you down to the AHL if AJ was here all the time, but he's never here, so you got to stay in the big leagues.
Great comparison. Just great comparison going up against the other team's top radio guys each and every week.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure. I get it, but Drake, it's a little different. Like, he was a winger. There's a lot of wingers. Like, there's a lot of depth at wing. There's no need to rush him because the gap between him and at the time and who was playing there wasn't that great. So you don't want to rush him. Like in this case, like, I mean, I just didn't see where he was ever the fifth center or a debate between being the fourth and fifth center. I just didn't see where that was ever the case in my mind.
Right, and I'm not sure we're actually on the same page. I'm just wondering about the confidence of a young man that has believed that he's going to be in this role and has already earned the trust of the coach, which is hard to do in 6 NHL regular season games.
Yeah, but I mean, he's going to go through some tough times. Like, I mean, there's very few. I mean, I don't know what young guys don't go through it. I mean, I can't remember whether Gretzky did or not, but or how much Jordan did in the NBA. But there's not many guys who haven't gone through some struggles in their first full year at the highest league that they in their respected sports. I mean, he's going to have some bad times, but I mean, he's a good player. He's going to fight through them, and again, it's just how long he struggles with the bad times will be an indication of how mentally strong he is, what the noise is around him, and how determined he is to keep it simple. But I mean, he's definitely a guy who is. There should be a lot of confidence given to him, and there should be a lot of opportunity given to him. But it's got to be realistic that he's going to have some struggles. I mean, it's no different than Tim last year. He started out great, and then really had some struggles, and then finished pretty strong. And it's a learning process, and he's going to go through some ups and downs too through his first 82 game seasons. But hopefully, he learned from last year that you got to play the game the way and play the role that you're expected to play, and then everybody will have confidence in you, and then you will have more confidence in yourself. And I just think Shane's game is easier to feel like he's having success without putting up huge numbers. I feel like Tim's always been in a situation where, his success has, everybody's kind of based his success on his numbers, but that's really not what your success is based on when you're starting out at the highest league possible.
Parker Kelly is a guy that the coaching staff and I think the organization trusts, and he's been rewarded with a multi-year extension, went undrafted, and just shows his hard work has paid for him. What guys like him and Nick Paul, like what impact can they have on the group in terms of their work ethic and just doing the things right that the coaching staff likes to see and wants to preach?
Well, I mean, I just think when you have guys like that, I hate the saying that someone's work ethic becomes contagious, because I just don't buy that. I don't think guys who don't want to work hard see guys work hard and then all of a sudden start working hard. But it is harder to have a bad attitude. Like, at least the people with a bad attitude try to hide it better when they're around guys like Nick Paul, and Parker Kelly, because you really look kind of ridiculous if you have a bad attitude when those guys are around. Whereas when you don't have guys like that around, your bad attitude doesn't look that bad because the comparables aren't the same as guys like that. It's really hard not to look like a fool if you have a bad attitude when you're around Parker or Nick. I mean, you look like an idiot because they bring the right attitude. They work hard. They fight. They're hard to play against. It's like it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. I mean, Nick kind of he's great because he's got both. But Kelly, it's just hard not to say, man, if I act like an idiot today, it's going to be very noticeable because that guy's on the ice. So it helps. It helps. It makes them hide it. I'm not sure it's contagious, and all of a sudden they catch this hard work, toughness sort of thing that makes those guys go. But they certainly work harder at hiding the laziness.
That's an interesting answer. For young players being around those guys, can it make them think twice with the way that they're handling themselves, or are people kind of just stuck in those ways and they'll hide it better around them, but they won't necessarily do something to improve it?
Again, I don't have the answer for this. I've argued with my assistant coaches who, in many cases, are a lot smarter than I am. They say you can't really change people's personality, whereas I argue you can change their personality. But are their personalities really changing, or are their actions just changing, but their true personality just stays the same, but they change their actions because of the environment? I guess that's, we argue about that all the time, and my argument back to that is, well, ultimately, I don't care. I guess if their personality doesn't change, but their actions change for the 4 or 5 years they're with me, then so be it. I get positive actions, even if their personality never changes. I want to believe that, a young guy could look at a Parker Kelly or Nick Paul and, try to emulate them and try to change their personality because they're young enough to make that change. But maybe personalities don't change. I'm not smart enough. I haven't done enough research on personalities to really know, but I am smart enough not to make outlandish, strong opinions on things I know nothing about. Like, to me, intelligent people keep it in the middle. Like, they're smart enough to know what they're smart about. They're smart enough to know what they're not smart about. You always know a stupid person based on their strong opinions. 100%, this is how it goes. It's like, okay, well, right now I know you're stupid because there is no 100%. So do I think that you can change personalities? I kind of think so, but I certainly could be wrong.
Just wonder what was going on behind you there for a second.
I thought a bus was running me down, but no, it missed me.
Well, that's fortunate for everybody. One more mindset question on a player. If you're a player that has had some opportunity to kind of crack the NHL lineup, but you're still young enough, and I'm talking about Erik Brannstrom here, where it feels like he's on the cusp of, he still could be a good player in the NHL and make the team. He still could have some battles ahead of him, even though he's had some opportunity before. How do you keep somebody like that kind of in the positive frame of mind to eventually kind of get their talent out and become that regular person? Obviously, Nick Paul's a great example of that, but how can young people be able to continue to work even if they think they should be there and they're not quite there yet?
Well, I mean, I think you can do it in multiple ways, and you figure out which way works. I mean, obviously, well, not obviously, because I kind of don't do it this way, but you probably should do it this way, especially in 2021. You should say, look at Nick Paul. Look what he's become. Look what he's been through. Look at how he's approached it. Look where it's taken him. So you look at it from a positive. I also think if that doesn't work because people don't believe it's going to happen to them, I think you also got to say, look at this guy who was drafted about the same place as you, but felt sorry for himself or didn't take the approach Nick Paul took, and look where he is now. That doesn't seem too much fun. You might want to be aware that you're probably going to end up being one of those two guys. You're either going to be Nick Paul or you're going to be that guy who's playing in Switzerland now. It's one. You're probably not going to end up approaching it the way you're approaching it in one of those two places. You might want to start, if you want to be Nick Paul, you might want to start approaching things the way Nick Paul approaches it. And if you don't believe that you'll end up being Nick Paul, please believe that if you don't approach it his way, you're going to end up being this guy. I mean, when I spoke to the team, I said, listen, guys, after I talk, why don't you go check the last 15 years, the top 20 draft picks in the NHL over the last 20 years, and go through every one who's never had a good career and figure out what the consistent reason for it is. I'm guessing it has something to do with not accepting a role or not working hard enough, or a combination of the two. But there's a lot of guys over the last 20 years who were drafted in the first round or the first 20 picks who didn't have very good NHL careers. So you might want to worry about whether you become that statistic or not. So, again, you can look at it from a positive perspective. You've got guys in the room who you can use as examples, but I'm sure you can look at it from a negative perspective and make them look at some guys who were in the same position but didn't take the right approach and ended up with nothing. Whatever motivates them. I think you just keep trying stuff until you find something that motivates them. Like with you, the negative tends to motivate you more than the positive, at least when I talk. I find when I say positive things about you, you get complacent and get really lousy at what you do. If I'm negative, you try to prove me wrong and work harder. So it's all in the individual.
What happens to you when people say negative things about you?
That's my fuel. When when people say positive things about me, I try to ignore it.
Yeah.
But because I know that my human nature is when they tell me good things, I start thinking that I am what they tell me, and then I go, this is going to kill me. So whenever that happens, I go search for people who will say negative things about me or to me or have said them in the past. And in my case, it's pretty easy to find negativity when related to people's thoughts on me. Hence those guys who refuse to tune to a different station but continue to listen to me even though I think I am horrible.
Well, that's 80% of our listeners who complain about something every day and then listen to us every day. But I just figured out why we're such, why I would consider you a person that's a friend of mine. Like, no wonder you search out the negativity. It's not hard to find when you talk to me.
Can we get to some real questions?
Yeah.
I feel like you're getting. It used to be my job to sidetrack the conversation. Now, as the host, remember how I said you were a good host? You're not supposed to be the one sidetracking the.
You're fueling me. Oh, I'm going to be so much better here in a couple minutes.
I've got one.
This is like the first presidential debate with Trump. You're just letting it go all over the place. Man.
I've got one. I don't know if it's good, but it's something I'm interested in. As the Carleton Ravens men's basketball schedule.
Little selfish question.
Well, yeah, I honestly, I'm curious about this, and I guess you'll understand in a second. But so Carleton opens their season coming up November 5th, 6th against Nipissing. How, with these being...
Against who?
Nipissing.
Nipissing.
That was a beauty.
Oh.
I knew as soon as I said it to him, I was waiting for Lee, and he didn't, because he normally does. But with the student athletes, how did they handle the pandemic and not being able to play? Like were there things that you could do in terms of getting them reps and working out? Like how did all of these student athletes handle not being able to play?
It was tough. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It was tough. I mean, it's unbelievably tough on our student athletes. Now, some of them on our team were lucky enough to play CEBL, and some of the soccer players were able to play in that summer soccer league. I don't know the details of it. I should probably, Kwesi and I talk about it. I should know what I'm talking about more than I do, but when he starts talking about it, I kind of tune him out. But they were able to get some games in, so that was. But for the general student athletes, like from all the teams and in the OUA, it was really tough because, a lot of their peers are playing in the NCAA and they're playing, even in the AUS, they were allowed to play more than we were in Ontario. So it was a long, long time coming for these athletes to get an opportunity to play, and they went through a lot just because everywhere around them, their peers were playing, and it's tough because guys are playing in Boston. It's 6 hours away. They're peers. They're the guys they've played with their whole life are getting to play 30-game seasons when we're not allowed to even have contact in our practice. And I'm not one to say what's right or what's wrong. I'm not going to say what they were doing in the States was ridiculous when we had a pandemic. I'm not going to say what we were doing here was too cautious when we have a pandemic. I have no idea. All I know is it's difficult as a coach, but from a player perspective, it's got to be even more difficult to understand how there was such major extremes. How 6 hours away it was okay one way, and 6 hours away it wasn't. Like how it was such an extreme. So it's tough when you're in the group who don't get to play when those are such extreme measures both ways. And so are they thrilled that they're back? Yeah, and it's been a really tough time. That might be the best question I've been asked in all my time on the radio with you guys. Not a ridiculous question, serious question. We got to talk about various topics. Like, you covered a lot of stuff in that question. I'm impressed.
Now, do you think that I like your praise, or when you carve me?
I don't know. I just go on what I've been told, and I don't want to say on air what I've been told.
Okay.
But I am pretty nice to you, so you can figure it out.
I was just going to ask
other,
you.
Other than when I hung up on you, but
right.
That was a ridiculous question.
See,
Lee's was way worse. It was the same type of. I'm going to ask you here. I'm going to give a player as an example and ask you, but not about this. And you didn't hang up last week.
No, but that's because you took advantage of your position as someone that I wouldn't attack.
Right.
To ask me a ridiculous question.
Correct.
You knew I wouldn't come back hard at you, so you put me on the spot, knowing that the only way to not answer this question was to either come back hard at you, which I wouldn't do, or hang up. Whereas Lee, he can ask me these questions because he knows if I don't want to answer them, I'll come back hard at him.
Right. And I'm always prepared for it.
So I just think we need to change our relationship if you're going to ask me those types of questions.
Well, I haven't for a while. I don't think since.
He just asked you a great question, and I was going to ask.
No, it was a great question.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too. You said ask me anything about U Sports. I'm wondering what happened to your football team in the biggest game.
Well, I mean, it's for me. Again, you're asking the wrong question. I've always felt like this whole Panda and Capital Hoops thing. I feel like everybody makes a big deal out of them. And it's great for, don't get me wrong, it's great for the athletes, it's fun, it's great for the students to get out, but honestly, it's a regular season game. Who cares?
I know,
How does
but
it mean anything
you just
more
said
than the game they play in 2 weeks? I mean, it absolutely means nothing more or less in terms of the final outcome for the season. So, it's probably good that you lose that game.
It's probably good that you lose that game. You just said it means a lot to the athletes.
In many ways, it's a good thing for the long term. I mean, but again, I always find it funny because my alumni are awesome. If we win the CTC, the Capital Hoops game, they don't make a big deal of it, and when we lose the Capital Hoops game, they don't make a big deal of it. I find the football alumni from both schools, the Panda game, they lose it, and it's like, oh my God, the sky is falling, and it's like it's one game in the middle of the regular season. Who cares? Like it doesn't make any difference. Like our football team have to beat Ottawa U next weekend to finish second, even if they lose to Queens this weekend, even if they beat Queens. If they lose to Ottawa U, they finish third, and they play Ottawa U in Ottawa. If they beat Ottawa U next week, they finish second, and they play Ottawa U in Ottawa. Again, the playoff game is all that matters. Like in the big picture, you got to win playoff games because when you lose playoff games, you go home. So honestly, at this point, right now, they're in preseason until that first playoff game. They got to get better. So I feel the same way about the Panda game. Like if it doesn't end, if he misses that field goal and we win, it doesn't change a whole lot. I mean, I guess it would have put us in a position where we could have possibly caught Queens, but other than that, it doesn't change a whole lot in terms of the the big scheme of things. I get it. It's like that all over the world. I mean, it's like you lose the rivalry game, like Ohio State, Michigan. You know, if they lose to Ohio State, it's the end of the world. And you're going, well, if they went 10-1 and lost to Ohio State, is it that big a deal?
Yeah.
But if they go 7-5 and beat Ohio State, is that okay? Like, why is that okay? But that's how it is in the States. And it doesn't, the whole football mentality makes zero sense to me.
Do you cheer any baseball teams on? Do you have a favorite baseball team?
I like the Red Sox. I've always liked them since, like, Jim Rice and Yastrzemski and those guys. So, like, I'm old, eh? Like, you understand, I'm really old. And I like the Red Sox.
Of course you do. Perfect way to end. Perfect way to end.
That's why you and Sean Van Allen are so tight.
Yeah.
I don't know. I say we're tight. You'd have to ask him if he's tight. Like, he might have a different opinion on our relationship. You never know. I'm not the easiest to get along with sometimes. I mean, I think there's days
sometimes,
where he might take the other side on how tight we are. But yeah, I mean, we do talk Red Sox a bit.
All right. Look forward to talking to you next week. There'll be a bunch of games under the belt for the Ottawa Senators, and it'll be an interesting time. Coach?
U Sport basketball.
Yeah.
Our men's and women's teams will have played this weekend in Laval. We can talk about that.
Okay. Excellent.
Did you guys not know we were playing this weekend?
Of course we did. Did you hear all the...
You just never mentioned it, so I just...
Well, I think...
know.
I know, but the biggest thing on people's minds right now, the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs play tomorrow night. And it counts.
And I didn't know who we were playing on November 5th and 6th. I thought we were playing Nipissing, but apparently who were we playing? What's that team we were playing?
Coach, thanks for your time. We'll look forward to the conversation next week.
So I am looking ahead to the schedule next week, and I'm here again. So one of the two is not here.
Who's not here next week?
AJ again.
Oh,
It's unbelievable to all of us, Coach. I can tell you that. Thanks for your time.
all right. Thanks, guys.
All right, there goes Dave Smart, consultant for the Ottawa Senators, director of basketball operations at Carleton University on the Gabriel Pizza Hotline. Gabriel Pizza, the official pizza, the Ottawa Senators.
So as I was quickly looking at the schedule, I was looking at the 13th, which is today, Wednesday. But I scrolled down to the 20th. It's the same thing. So of course it is.
It's like the one day you're here, 3 o'clock, Dave Smart will be on. Fantastic.
Pissing. Maybe AJ has an out clause on Wednesdays.
Maybe he's smarter than what we think.
He's got the Dave Smart flu.
Yeah. You know what? Wednesdays are going to be my day that I'm going to go to the boss and ask him for it off. Although I'm not going to tell him why, whether I'm in Mexico or whether I'm in Toronto or whether I'm down the street. Hilarious.
I
But
feel like you'd be in the Keys or something.
I thought it was very funny listening to TSN Mornings and having JR go through that he didn't know that AJ was in Mexico. Like,
I was dying. I was listening to that live.
yeah.
Dropped the daughter off at school, and she's trying to talk to me. I'm like, hang on one second. The boss is carving AJ. I need to hear this.
Anyways, AJ is super patriotic, that's for sure, and has followed the soccer in and out, and he is down in Toronto watching Canada-Panama tonight, and we will look forward to that as well. Take a quick break and come back with more of The Drive here on TSN 1200.
The Drive continues on TSN 1200.
Welcome back to The Drive. Lever Sage, Graham Creech, Matt Conazvito with you. Got a full slate of games tonight. Montreal's in Toronto to take on
Hey,
the Leafs.
there's 5 games on.
Yeah, but games that matter. You got Vancouver in Edmonton. The Oilers with some big aspirations this year. Winnipeg's in Anaheim. I'm interested to see how the Jets are. Tonight's a better slate of games.
Yeah, better slate, not full. Which brings us to the TSN 1200 tool and equipment store web poll question of the day, Lever Sage.
Excellent.
Located on the right hand of the website if you're on a browser, on a desktop.
Let me just get to it on my mobile phone where I won't be able to find it on the right-hand side, but I will scroll down to get it.
Which duo do you most want to watch this evening? McDavid Draisaitl is option 1.
Mhm.
Reeves Wilson, option 2. A lot of people were worried we wouldn't get that after the collision with Subban in the preseason with Reeves.
Mhm.
Suzuki Caulfield is option number 3. And option D, Marner Tavares.
Where we don't know if Mitch Marner will be in the lineup or not. So I'm not going to take, and Tavares is just a replacement for Matthews for 3 games on that poll. So I'm not taking Johnny T and a guy who might not even play tonight. So they're out. The answer is Reeves Wilson. That has to be the answer. Because you could be excited as one of your favorite teams to watch, if you're a big Leafs fan, to watch them play. If you're a big Canadiens fan, to watch Suzuki and Caulfield and the rest of the bunch. McDavid, Draisaitl, always, but
You know what
that's
we've
every
seen
single
before?
game. What?
All of these, except for one. I'm with you, Lever.
Yeah.
Solidarity on the drive.
Well,
Not quite yet.
Well, solidarity for the regular drive crew.
the
Well,
regular.
no, not quite yet either,
yeah,
actually. Because I'd say
70%
I'm
guy.
probably the most regular over here, other than Mac Vita.
And me. Let's cool your jets on that. AJ's taking up a lot of the.
A lot of the 70%
Yeah.
goes to AJ.
So, but for Reeves Wilson tonight, it's because there has been some talk, and that is the only option that you have that is 2 guys against each other. The other are, do I want to watch the Oilers play McDavid and Draisaitl? All 82 games, they're amazing to watch. Tonight, no different than any other game. So this one has a rivalry already. We didn't think things were going to happen within the rivalry, and then they did anyway, and the NHL had to come down on the teams. And now since then, Ryan Reeves has put himself into the middle of it and has spoken about it directly. Something will happen tonight. I don't know how big it's going to be, but something's going to happen tonight. You're not just going to go 60 minutes in this Rangers-Washington game with nothing happening. So for me, the answer is easy. It's that. So not for you?
I have a question and a statement.
Okay.
Question, are we playing by Mendez-style rules or Versage rules? In terms of, will you accept an off-the-board answer?
I'm always willing to listen. Because I don't even think that option D of Tavares and Marner, are you ever excited? And I'm not bashing the guy. Are you ever excited to watch John Tavares play hockey right now?
No, he wouldn't.
No.
Good, still a good player,
Yeah.
but he's not. Yeah, I'm not like, oh, Tavares in action. I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah,
No.
it's not, hey, McDavid, Draisaitl, or even Matthews, Marner when they're at the top of their game. Tavares isn't in that list. He's only a replacement because Matthews isn't playing. We don't even know if Marner's playing. So I'm much more willing to hear the off-the-board option at this point.
Okay, my statement is, I don't know if it was you or Matt or both, but we have seen Reeves and Wilson, the Stanley Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, Colorado, Chicago, because Johnny Taves is back. Taves and Kane, the classic duo. 3 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, it loses a little bit with McKinnon out of the lineup.
Yes,
for sure.
But I knew you were going to counter with this,
Mm-hmm.
but Mikko Rantanen is still super exciting to watch. This guy on the blue line, forget his name, Cale Makar. That guy may be the most exciting defenseman to watch right now. I can, plus, and I know I'm expanding from the duos, but Darcy Kemper between the pipes and I know we're not going to know in game 1, but is this going to be an upgrade from Grubauer? I think it probably will be. I think I like the move from a Colorado perspective. And then seeing Marc-Andre Fleury wear that Chicago gear. Can the Chicago Blackhawks get back to to where they want to be. I'm just excited to see Jonathan Toews play hockey again.
The problem with that game is it's right up alongside Vancouver Edmonton, which I do have a lot of interest in. I think the Canucks are going to be better.
You do?
Yeah.
So like it
Pettersson-
other than like I'm not trying to downplay McDavid and Draisaitl because they're two of the top 5 players in the game or whatever. But I'm not like chomping at the bit to watch Edmonton Vancouver. We saw it all year. I don't care. That might be second last on my list tonight.
Second last.
Winnipeg Anaheim. Don't really care too much about that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the games. I mean, I do care about Reeves and Wilson.
Montreal Toronto's always fun, but it's like we've had so much of this division that it's just
Yeah, but you're excited about tomorrow.
yeah.
It's Ottawa, Toronto. We've
opening
had
night, of course.
so much of that division. So it's opening night for all these teams.
I'm just saying Vancouver,
tonight.
Edmonton is not like much watch TV for me tonight.
Okay. I think there's a lot of pressure on Elias Pettersson to be a whole bunch better than he was last year. And if he can be, that is going to be a very dangerous team. I think between him and Quinn Hughes getting the deals done, understanding that they both needed some improvement, Vancouver to me is going to be the team that I'm really going to watch to think they can take a major jump this year. So I will be very interested in that game. But you make a compelling argument for Chicago, Colorado. We'll see if Mitch Marner plays tonight. They're playing the Montreal Canadiens, and I have no idea what to expect from this Canadiens team. No idea.
If you're asking me about duos tonight in that game, it's easily Caulfield Suzuki.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if they had Galchenyuk with them again so they can create some magic in OT, but
Really kind of hammering the Leafs here. I like it.
no, and if Matthews was playing, that would be
For sure.
huge for sure, but no.
What's the vote at right now?
The vote, Lever Sage, I'm glad you asked. What do you guess is number one?
I would think Reeves and Wilson would be number one.
McDavid Draisaitl at 59.8%.
Okay.
Followed by Reeves Wilson, 24%. I will tune into that for sure as well. Then Suzuki Caulfield at a little over 13%. Marner Tavares, 2.7%.
The great thing about that Rangers-Washington game tonight is it's off kilter of the rest of them. So the Leafs in Montreal start at 7. That game starts at 7:30. So the first intermission for Leafs and Habs, you can flip over. They'll be in the first period of that Rangers-Washington game. And then 10 o'clock starts tonight, Chicago and Colorado, Vancouver and Edmonton, Winnipeg visiting Anaheim. Take a break, come back with more of The Drive on TSN 1200.
Let's get back to The Drive on the home of the Sens, TSN 1200.
Welcome back to The Drive. Lever Sage, Graham Creech, Matt Conasvita. Yes, Graham?
I was just saying hi. He said, welcome back. I would just wait.
Oh, thought he put his hand up to I got something to say quick
No, I
here.
was waving.
I think it's 3:56, and Andrew Pinsent, 580 CFRA News update is on the way.
Just pulling a Matty K. Because I'll often wave hello when you mention me.
LRT City Council meeting, Andrew will talk about.
Some drama there. Things are going down. I've been seeing some stuff across the timeline this afternoon. I'm looking forward to hearing an update. I haven't gotten to really investigate, but some people aren't too happy with each other at council.
He's got an update, too, on the U.S. border, reopening to Canadian visitors.
He's speaking of fans of your show.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Pinner, right near the top.
On the list. So he'll have the 580 CFRA News update. I'll have what you need to know quickly. 7 o'clock tonight. It'll be part of my need to know. Canada, Panama.
Speaking of duos.
How much interest there on a Wednesday night with the Leafs and Habs and some of the other stuff in the National Hockey League? How much interest from you guys in this game?
I'm interested. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Need a big win here.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's hanging around AJ too much or just the fact that I watched that Canada-Mexico game and got up off the couch when they scored. Like, okay. Like, I know AJ was kind of talking negatively yesterday, like they need a win, and if this happens, and I guess I'm the outsider looking in going, right, you play 14 games in this.
They need a win tonight.
They do need a win tonight, but what I'm saying is that I have very positive thoughts about this game and going on. They went in and got a point in Mexico and got a point in the U.S. on the road. So as this sets up now, yeah, there's going to be some really tough games, but they got a point in Jamaica. They got a point in the U.S. They got a point in Mexico. And this is a team right now that if they can just win their home games and get, they don't even have to beat Mexico and the U.S. when they come here, just not lose to them and win your other home games, this team's going to the World Cup. So I'm sure there'll be some drama along the way, and it's never that easy. But to answer my own question, yes, I'm interested tonight at 7 o'clock for them to beat Panama. And after the second set of games, they're going to be in a really good position if they can get a win tonight.
I think AJ got me. Like I always kind of follow to see what's required for qualifying, and I'm speaking like in previous rounds.
Mm-hmm.
But I get most of my information from AJ, and him and I were hosting some shows together in the last stage of qualifying, and he really kind of got me fired up for it, despite you needing one to be able to watch it, and now we're able to watch some of the games on national TV. So it's something that like we were talking about last week, when it's you drape the flag around and you root for Canada, whatever it is. But the exciting young talent, and when I said, speaking of duos, David Davies, let's go.
Maybe that should have been in our poll question. Who's the most
I can't
exciting
take credit for that.
duo?
I cannot take credit for that.
Somebody else?
Gord Smith. As I was looking at the results of the poll, the first response from Gord Smith. How about Davies and David?
He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
Might be the most exciting duo to watch tonight. And at 7 o'clock, Canada-Panama is on. John Herdman, the coach, calling it a 6-point game. You know, they call those big games in the National Hockey League 4-point games. This is a 6-pointer tonight. Love it.
What's with the style today?
The style.
Yeah, you got like a different vibe today.
Okay. Like,
New jacket, new pants?
well, it's not a jacket. It's just a shirt.
Looks like a jean jacket, basically. I guess it's a shirt.
Yes, Graham, totally new style. Day before the regular season gets going, mid-October, thought, why not break out a new style
Nice.
today on a Wednesday? All right, we're a little bit late now.
Looking sharply.
For that 580 CFRA news update, I'll have what you need to know, and we'll soar into hour number 3 of the drive coming up here on TSN 1200.